Hello and good afternoon.
Arrow Collins, Desi Rexx. How are you?
You are the Windy City Wild Man, aren't you?
Well, it is. That's some. Yes. How about that? How about I just fess up to it? How about I just own it?
What is it about that Chicago music scene? Because that's where my wife is from, and then her husband is a record producer, and they all moved out to California because, I mean, it was like, we're going to create it here in Chicago, but we're going to go out to where the action is.
Isn't it the craziest deal? I mean, when back in the day there was a guy, he's gone now, Marty Feldman, and it's not the guy with the hump, not Igor, but a different guy that had worked at Chess Studios as a young guy with all the Black Blues guys and all that. And he had a studio called Paragon, and I really thought he could have done something and taken off with it, but it never quite popped. That was downtown Chicago. It was really a nice setup. Chip Zanoff and myself were in a band called We're Staying back in the day, and we did some recordings with Marty, and they were brilliant. I mean, the guy was really, he could have been the guy that was like at the center of it all, and it just never really took off. I don't get it. I mean, there are a few studios and all that, and Anyway, I agree with you. They get it together and then they go to Hollywood,
All right, we've got to dive into this song, Blue. Who would have thought that you could do this song the way you did? And my God, it's a new level of blues rock.
Isn't it interesting how that turned out?
Yes.
The song was written in about 58 or so, Jimmy somebody or other. And then, of course, Leanne Rimes was 13 years old and did her little version of it. And it's cute for what it is, but it is not Desi Rexx. And so the funny thing was, I moved out to family, and I moved out to Salt Lake City. In 11. Prayed our way here. We're Latter-day Saints and all that stuff. Yeah. And that's fine. You want to hear it sometime, or you want me to baptize you, I'll be glad to fly in and take care of business for you. But I think we're talking about other stuff right now. At any rate, we got here, and just before we left Chicago, I had put out a record called DeMal's Desi Rexx D-Sides. And it was on a label called F&A Records. And the guy, Steve, they're a super cool guy, pushed the record real hard. He had also done, several other records. And one of them was for a band called Skit Skat. And we'll get back to it. So he calls me up, I don't know, 6 months after we released the record. And now I'd moved here. And he says, listen, I was in the airport at Salt Lake the other day. I said, why didn't you call me? He says, well, blah, 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 woof, woof. Anyway, I ran into a real rock and roll looking guy, and he wants to get together and do some shows with you. And I said, okay, who is he? He says, it's Johnny Lightfoot. I said, Gordon. No, Johnny, it's his cousin from Air Supply.
Oh, my God.
And I went, Air Supply and DeMal's? You kidding me? That's like the Mamas and Papas and AC/DC or something. What kind of bill is that, right? He says, I don't know. He says, give the guy a call. Here's his number. So, I have a hard time keeping up with time, actually. Last time I looked, it was the late 80s, and now here we are. And so, of course, I did not call Johnny. And then, I don't know, 4 or 5 months go by. Steve calls me up. He says, what did Johnny say? Who? That guy, Johnny Lightfoot, I never called him. Can I give him your number? Yeah, give him my number. Okay. So Johnny really takes care of business, and he called me that night. We spent the first 25 minutes talking about our kids and fun and just like sort of hooking up brothers before we got talking business. And we have a lot in common. He's a real good guy. Love him. He's definitely a twin brother from a different mother. And so he says, I say, well, what's the story about doing shows? I don't get it. Air Supply, what? He goes, no. He says, Air Supply is my bread and butter. He says, I'm a glam rocker, because I haven't seen the
man.
Right? You're a glam rocker. He goes, yeah. I used to have a band, Skit Skat, back in the day. Matter of fact, we used to cover All I Want off your first record, because I've been a fan for years. Really? Oh, yeah. So, okay, well, let's get you down for an audition and see how you do. Or maybe he said, can I come and audition or something like that. So I had a drummer I was working with, and he shows up, and the drummer was at a certain level. Very good guy, Richie, real good drummer. Johnny shows up, walks in, sets his stuff up, says, I said, what do you know? He says, all of it, go. So we go through 5 or 6 or 7 songs. He knows all of them and plays them all like he's been playing them his whole life. Wow. And he's moving and rocking and Pete Townsend windmills and jumping over on my mic and singing harmonies with me. I mean, he really was prepared for the audition. And so I said, okay, great, let's go. You know, it was like when I auditioned for Dave Roth. You got the gig, Des. Now, no, not that fast, Dave. We got a couple of things we got to talk about first. So he and I go out to a place called Beto's and get a burrito and start talking about the business of things. And we both agreed immediately that Richie was a great drummer, but not at all right for what we were going to do.
Right.
And we started putting things together. And so when I got to town here, I had been working on a new record to release, and 10 songs were in the can, finished. They were with a drummer and bass player that you probably wouldn't know, and I played bass on some of them. And SS Priest, SS Scotty, there are actually two SS Priests, but SS Scotty, the one that you saw in the 777 video, and then went and SS Sean had actually made the first record, and then he was a very young kid and brilliant. Oh my gosh, brilliant player. But Hollywood kind of chewed him up. He ended up with a chick that was a B-movie actress and got into different things that you shouldn't get into at that age. And one time he was up for I don't know how long, and he just looks at me and he goes, Desi, he goes, I got to go home. I said, kiddo, you do have to go home. You made the most brilliant record I've ever heard. And, best of luck to you. And if you get it together and you want back in, let me know sometime. And, he goes, okay, thanks, man. And that was it. Fast forward just a little bit, he got himself back together and started reverse engineering things and ended up a real good producer. And he ended up producing Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise.
No.
How about that?
Wow.
He got a gold record for it. Yeah, Sean Freehill, SS Sean. So in the meantime, SS Scotty, who actually had predated SS Sean, but had to bail out when his old band Diamond Rexx had their first record ready to go, and he's ready to go to Hollywood with us. And he says, they told me they're going to wipe all my tracks off. He goes, Desi, I've been in that band 5 years. I got to see my first record get out there. I said, of course you do. So we picked up SS Sean, went to Hollywood. We were in town for about 2.5 weeks when we got a 7-record deal from Atlantic. That's a story unto itself. But anyway, so Sean was brilliant, but just a little too young for the game. And Scotty's back in. And then fast forward in 07, Sean and I got together and did a show at what was then called the Key Club. It had been Gazzari's with a band called Metal School that's now called Steel Panther. And it was 900 was the legal limit. They had 1,100 in the club and 150 outside. And when Sean and I walked, Sean had gone. It was so great playing with him again. It had been so long, And he went out and said, "What do you think of these duds I got?" And he had beautiful clothes. I said, yeah, man, you look great. You can look better than me. I'm not supposed to do that, Keith. I'm good. Right? And so we're walking down the stairs from his place, going over to get in a limo and get over the show. And he falls down, tears his arm open on the stucco wall. He had a bloody mess. We bandaged the whole thing up. He tears his pants up a little bit, but they look even better. Beautiful leathers. We do the show. He calls me a week later. He said, I paid $4,000 for all those clothes because I didn't know what I was going to wear. It was mix and match. And so, he 3 pairs of pants, 3 shirts, and all that. He says, I tried to take him back. And he says, don't you remember? No return. No return. So he had a new $4,000 wardrobe, but he looked great for the next 3 years, that's for sure. Oh, my gosh. I digress. Anyway, so Skit Skat. So it turns out that Johnny had been in this band Skit Skat, and they were a glam band, and they were really big in Salt Lake back in the day. Wow. Then he got a shot at this Air Supply gig and took it, and then 16 years go by or 17 years go by. And so now what he wants to do is not have DeMal's play with Air Supply, but he wants in DeMal's, and he was in. So now I've got this record that I'd made, and with SS Scotty, and I say, well, listen, you want to hear the new record? He goes, I'd love to hear the new record. So I play it for him, and he goes, oh, you want to hear one that I wrote back in the day? Sure. And it's got no lyrics and no vocals on it, but he plays it, and it belongs on the record. And I go, wow. My gosh, it's perfect. So immediately we put the vocals on that one and the backup harmonies. That song is called Hey Little Sister. And actually Brian Forsyth from Kix plays on that particular track. It's on our upcoming record here. And so I thought to myself, well, you sure used to know how to write a song, but can you still write a song is in my head, right? Because, sometimes people lose their juice over the years, right? But I had a different thing in mind, and I said, would you like to play on the new record? He goes, oh, Desi, I'd love to. Okay. So we have Bill from Chicago shoot out the files, and I sit down with Johnny. That it was like the next day. I'm telling you, the guy takes care of business immediately. And like if you would have wanted to interview him, it would have already been done. You know, he'd call you at 8 in the morning or something. I just recently found out about, I don't know, not too long. When I had kids, I found out that there's actually a 6 and 7 and 8 a.m. I never knew that. I was living a 21-hour day. Right. That's why I look a lot younger than my birthday candles. So anyways, we get the files sent out, and it's digital stuff these days, and he sits with me, and I promise this is the truth. He gives one listen to the first song and then replaces the bass parts, and they're better.
Wow.
He gives one listen to the second one, plays it through, and they're better. He did that on 9 songs. On the 10th song, he made one little boo-boo that I could have lived with. To me, it sounded like Paul McCartney. I love those little mistakes. You go, no, I can't live with it. Okay, so we punch him in, and he fixes the one note mistake he made on a 10-song record, and he did it in about an hour and 45 minutes.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. The guy is and he's a great producer, and he's my great friend, and he looks the part, and his weight is right, and he's a maniac, and yet no drugs or anything like that, and never makes mistakes, and takes care and books all the hotels and does all that minutia that I was not born to do. Mm-hmm. And he's a monster on stage. Yeah. And he's reliable. I mean, he's just what a blessing he turned out to be in my life. So now we've got the core of it, and we've got the new record, and we're looking for a band to go out and tour, to go support this. So we're trying different drummers, and all of a sudden he says, I know a guy, because I'm thinking, get a name. You know what I mean? And he's thinking, I know a guy that never really got a shot. His name is Van Christensen. He's Vandolph the Great. He's unbelievable. You used to get Tommy Aldrich in your band back in the day, mm-hmm. so that you could sit back for 25 minutes on side stage and let him have a drum solo and work the crowd up even better. And that's how Van is. And he's a guy that can knock off anybody. He can play like anybody. I mean, Bonzo, Keith Moon, Ringo, any of the greats. And Ulrich, any of them. And then those kind of guys usually never get their own style. They're just busy copying other people. But he has somehow taken all the greats and put it together into him, and it's different. If you hear him play, you'd have to really know drums to pick out the chops here and there. He's just this force to be reckoned with. And so then there we had that. Now we're looking for a lead guitar player, and immediately, having had Brian play on a couple of the tracks, I said, well, let's call Brian Forsyth and see what he's doing. I know he messes around with Rhino Bucket when he's not doing the kicks thing. So we called him, and then we started thinking, well, wait just a second here. We're not just going to be touring when kicks isn't.
Right,
we're going to be
right.
Also, we better get somebody that can, and so Warren had, which are old buddies of mine. Janie was my dear, 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 dear friend. Quick story, Detroit, sound check. Billy didn't show up. Janie says, I know the tunes. And he hops up on drums, plays 3 songs with the Mouse in a sound check, smiling like a maniac, comes down afterward, says to me, straight as, I can't tell you, serious as a heart attack, he goes, Desi, fire Billy. Can I play drums
for you? There you go.
And I said, Janie, we're out touring, supporting each of our first records. I said, have you heard Heaven yet? I know you recorded it, but have you heard it yet? He goes, what do you mean? I said, it's going to take off for you. He goes, I've got no perspective left. He was really, really tired. And I said, I'm going to do you a favor and turn you down. You're a great freaking drummer. I'd love to have you in the band. Billy was always kind of trouble. He's a rock star and everything. But anyway. So since then, and especially since he died, I have always felt a little pang of guilt. Like, what if I would have? But maybe he would have turned into more of a maniac. Do you know what I mean? You never know how those things go. But it would have been anyway. That was so. Johnny is good pals with Eric Turner from Warrant, and Warrant had not quite stepped up their game again. And he calls him, and he says, Eric, Desi and I are blah, blah. Oh, you're kidding. Oh, yeah, blah, 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 woof, 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 Hey, listen, you want to come and do a run of shows with us? And he says, I don't know why, but things have just started popping for Warrant again. He goes, I'm all booked up. He goes, but I got the guy for you. I've got the guy for you. Mick James is your guy. He's been my brother since, I don't know how long, since teenagers. He said, and actually Warrant, Janie, all of us except Joey, who was not yet in the band, went over to Mick's house back in the day, knocked on his door, the four of us, and said, you want to be in our band? And he turned us down.
What?
So we kept looking. We found Joey, and Joey's great. I mean, Joey's perfect for the gig, but Mick could have been the Warrant guy and wasn't, and then never really got a shot after that. He's a great player. He's made a living out of playing. He does, no straight job or anything like that. But it never really popped for him. So when we called him up, he was so excited. And it turns out he's a big fan of DeMouse from way back. By the way, for the record, what is this? It's unplugged and totally uncut, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
With Arrow Collins. I can hook you up with Bo Derek if you'd like, and you guys would be Bo and Arrow. You like older women? Talk to me. I got the hookup. Anyway, here's the deal. This is Desi Rexx with Arrow Collins on Unplugged and Totally Uncut Radio. Listening to Blue Mile 777. So let's get back to it. Mick auditioned for us long distance on like a Skype. And I said, show me what you can do. And there's always that lag, you know what I mean? A little bit of a lag from but anyway, the guy was just brilliant, just freaking brilliant. And he knew some of the tracks and he laid down, said, okay, great. We got you. Good. We'll send you some files. So he's on the record all over the place. Then I get a phone call. Oh, have you caught do you know who Pete Baronet, do you know who Max was?
No.
Oh, I'm sick to my stomach. No, I am. 2 weeks ago on Thursday, he died. He was my best man. He was my best friend. Pete Baronet, I gave him the name Max back in the day, and his guitar making business. He was the finest electric luthier. So Slash's 59 Les Paul, right?
Yeah.
Is not a Gibson Les Paul. It's a Max. He used to knock off Les Paul. He would make it. He'd use all the old stuff. He got a guy with all the old wood from the 50s and the right glue, and then he'd get the right pickups and all that. He had, and people didn't even know it. He was making them, selling them to people for $5,000. They'd take them to Japan, sell them as originals for $30,000. Wow. He had the right ink, the right stamp, the right nitrocellulose lacquer, all that stuff. Max was the absolute man. I've got more of his guitars in one single collection than anybody else does. He did me one last favor. I'd spoken with him, but I haven't seen him in years. He actually roadied our show that Sean and I did at the Key Club. That was great. And he got a chance to play twice live, and it was with the mouth. So Max calls me up about a year ago. He says, do you know the name Stevie D? I said, I don't. Oh, yeah. He says, do you know the band Buck Cherry? I said, I don't. He said, what rock have you been living under? I said, the same one I always live under, And he says, well, listen, give the guy a call. So, of course, I don't call him. And then Max hits me back. He says, can I give him your... Yes, I know the drill. Yes, you can. And Stevie D from Buck Cherry immediately calls me up. Well, in the interim, I looked up Buck Cherry, and they've got that one really big song and some other ones. And, Buck Cherry's Buck Cherry, right? They're the real deal. And Stevie's the real deal. And so... We get on the phone, and Stevie is like, and I'm not saying this stuff to pat myself on the shoulder. I don't live like that. I've just been amazed over the years at all the people that have claimed that we have been such an inspiration to and such a role model, and Tracii Guns and all these guys. I mean, everybody, what's it, Joey Lestay with Bang Tango, and Jizzy Pearl from Love Hate, and all these guys have all these stories how they came to Jizzy Pearl comes to L.A., comes to the Whiskey. We're playing there. He walks in, hears one song, punches his hand through the glass in the window, walks out, gets in his car, and drives back to Chicago and says, I got more work to do. Joey will say, same story, goes back to San Diego, comes back a year and a half, and now he's got Bang Tango, and it's working out. But all these guys, Phil Lewis and Tracii Guns hit me at a Waffle House the day after a show at the Rocklahoma several years ago. That was a fun one. That was on Sunday. I got up. I go down to church first. I'm telling you, I'm a straight shooter these days. And I walk in, and I got my hair 10 feet tall, bleached on, leathers on, skull, and I'm in with all the brethren, and they're all in their shirts and ties, like you can imagine a Mormon gathering, and they're like, watch this. I got makeup on. What is this, And I said, I'm playing Rocklahoma, guys. Come on, get back to it. I know my scriptures. Let's go, What? Yeah. And by the time I'm leaving, they're going, good, high five me. Have a good show, brother. See you, So the next day I go into the Waffle House and I just want to have a little waffle and sit down, and I get, hey Desi, come on back, and it's Tracii Guns and Jizzy Pearl. He was singing for the Guns right then, and Tracii says, look, I gotta own up to it right now. He says, do you remember? You probably wouldn't remember this. He says, but you played Gazzarri's and Phil and I were. I said, yeah, you were right here, left, right. How do you remember that stuff? I said, I never had a drink, pill, cigarette. Ted Nugent's got nothing on Desi, except Ted. Here, look. Ted says he has never had fast food. What do you do, Ted? Shoot a white rhino at 3 a.m. after a show? I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Nothing tastes better than an enchilada from Taco Bell.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. So anyway, he says, Phil and I right down, because I whispered in his ear, we got to model our new band after this. I want it to be exactly like this, right? And he tells me this, and I'm going, dude, he goes, I'm serious, says he. He says, and we did a tune on our second record that was a complete lift of the stroll from your first record. He goes, I just want to apologize. I said, apologize? What are you talking about? We're all trying to get each other to heaven here, and Janie got there first, But anyway, we're just trying to help each other out, bro. You're welcome. And he was like, oh, you're the best, man. You're the best. So everybody helps everybody out. It's not. I mean. Is there fierce competition? I don't know. I've always considered myself to be in competition with the Stones, the Beatles, Zeppelin.
Yep.
Not these guys. These are my brothers. We're all trying to help each other out, So anyway, listen, question, and I'll answer. How about that? Oh, no. You asked me about Blue. So the deal was that we make this new record, and now it's all set and we're ready to send it off. And Johnny sends me a text. He goes, I'm going to send you something. Listen to the song. Tell me what you think of it. I think we should bump one of the songs off the record. And he sends me Leanne Rimes' version of Blue. Yeah. And I hear that little sissy 13-year-old, ooh, and I'm going, are you out of your freaking mind? Yeah. Like the Kamikaze guy in the Cheech and Chong record. I don't know what. Are you out of your mind? And I text him. I called him back. I said, what are you talking about? It's a joke, right? He goes, well, let me send you one more file. And so he sends me another one, and it is the demo version, not the Blue that you heard, but the demo, Johnny's demo version, rocked up the way it is now with no vocals on it. And I hear it. And I freaking lose my mind immediately. I know how I'm going to sing it. And I call him back. I go, it's brilliant. It's freaking brilliant, Johnny. You're the best. He goes, I said, when can we record it? He goes, I already booked time. See you 24th and State on Thursday. I mean, he takes care of business. So I show up. We lay the whole thing down. I do it in one take. And we listen back to it, and I see him and the engineer through the glass, and they're kind of nodding their head. They're kind of shaking their head. Once the solo's over and it's modulated up, and then that real killer thing that I do there isn't there yet. And they're going, pointing at me, right there, And I said, give me a sec. Okay, roll it. And then I nailed that one. And I see both their heads look at each other and nod big. Yeah, that's it. Come on in. And we mix it down, and now we've got the track recorded, right? But it's with it's Johnny playing, I'm playing guitars. I think Johnny threw a guitar in on there, and so then, but it's drum machine drums.
Okay.
And they're great.
Yep.
And we go, no, you got to get real drums in there. So we're all set to have a van go in the studio and put drums on them, you know, and all of a sudden he calls me. I don't know, that was going to be a week or two later, and he calls me up. He says, hey, I went out last night and saw Blue Man Group. I said, good for you, they're fun, huh?
Wow.
He goes, yeah, they're fun, except I ran into the drummer. He said, do you know who it is? I said, no. He says, yes, you do. I said, no, I don't. He goes, well, you might not know who it is, but you know him. Okay, who's that? Blas Elias from Slaughter is now in the Blue Man Group. Well, let's fast forward till right now, Arrow. Do you know what Blas is doing these days?
Probably still doing Blue Man, is he not? Or is he in your band now?
No! Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
What a gig for a drummer. Are you kidding me? There's no better gig. Unless Zeppelin did a reunion.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's the gig of gigs. So... But before he was in trance and after, I guess he might have still been doing the Blue Man thing. I guess he might have. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, we fly him in, take him in the studio. He lays down killer drums on Blue, killer drums. And we finish early. These guys take, you know, like no time to do it right the first time. And I said to Johnny, when I have him to do another track while he's in, we rented the drums and all that stuff. Yeah. So we have him do a song called Turn It Up Louder that's going to be on this new record. It's a killer song. Mm-hmm. I can't wait for this. It'll probably be our next. My girlfriend quit me, said that I'm a zero. It's a great freaking song. And so he knocks that one out. Then he does some vocals with us on that one. It was just a great time, a great vibe. He killed Blue. He freaking killed Blue. Wow. So now we take it home and we're listening to it, and there's no solo on it yet. And we're going, what should we do? What should we do? It just took a complete another jump to another level. What should we do? And we both look at each other. Slide. Definitely slide. So I bust out my Strat, get the slide on, and I lay down a killer slide solo. It was really good.
Wow.
But it was still kind of like I call Blue, our version of Blue, kind of like a barbecue freight train. Just right. And so but my solo was kind of there, and it was really good, and we looked at each other, yeah, it's really great. And we both knew it wasn't quite right. It was really great, but it wasn't quite there. And so then we said, let's just sleep on it. The next day, he calls me. He said, I took the liberty of calling up Brian Forsyth and asking him if he happened to play slide guitar. And Brian said, it's my secret weapon.
Wow.
And we said, we'll send you the files. Do you mind doing one more? No, Desi, anything for you and Johnny. No problem. So that's Brian Forsyth. So the version that you hear there of Blue is Johnny doing all the bass stuff and producing it, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm co-producing it, but Johnny's engineering it. And the vocals are all myself, and then Johnny stacks them up to fill them out a little bit. Blas Elias on drums, and Brian Forsyth doing that murderous slide solo.
Wow.
So that's a complete one-off. That lineup of four, and Van and Nick, they're totally cool. Yeah, guys, whatever. You got to go with the names. We got to get some action off this thing, and we've been doing pretty well with it. The song is doing pretty. And you know, here's the thing: these days, it's all social media and radio, as it's always been. And without you, we're dead. I mean, we're sitting, you know, in Salt Lake City with a great song, and it's not going. But you're helping us, and I'm not going to forget it, brother. You know, what city are you out of? Where are you?
I'm out of Charlotte, and the thing is that with modern day technology, especially with radio, it's no longer about Charlotte. It's about how can we affect your music in other corners of the world. I mean, that's the fun part.
Biting my tongue not to interrupt you. I stole the tour bus in Charlotte back in the day.
You did?
The guys were so hungry, and the bus driver was cooked. He'd been driving us for days and days. He went in, he was asleep. They couldn't get him up. I said, come on, I know where the 7-Eleven is. I stole that freaking tour bus. I sure did. And we all went down to 7-Eleven, and the police pulled us. Oh, sorry. I can't believe it's Charlotte. Oh, my gosh. The road manager came. He wanted to spank me, but he's laughing. He's trying to keep a straight face to the cop. I can't believe Desi did this. Oh, we're so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Oh, my gosh. I love Charlotte.
Yeah.
There was a blonde girl at that particular show. I love blonde girls. I just well, I love my blonde wife, but I appreciate blonde girls. And anyway, this girl was the cutest thing. Oh my gosh, she was beautiful, beautiful. And so, you know, like, what do you say to strike up a conversation when you've got like 12 minutes, right? So I just said, hey, what nationality are you?
Yeah.
And she looked at me like I was from planet Mars, and she said, white. That was her nationality. White. And so I thought, next, I'm sorry, but you have to have at least 3 working brain cells to hang with the Rexx there. Windy City out. Peace out. What? Anyway, she was very, very cute. They sure grew a pretty one there, but, you know, I guess she thought it was trains and said, I'll catch the next one. Okay, so listen, so I get what you're saying. And so this is going out to a larger market then, huh?
Oh, absolutely. It's not about Charlotte. It's about the world, dude. I mean, the outreach and all that, it's amazing how many people in the UK tune in and vibe with you. I mean, it's just amazing. That's what I love about modern day. That's the reason why I left terrestrial radio, because I got tired of talking about, you know, being in town. I wanted to be everywhere.
Right. Why not? You know, here's one for you, speaking of UK. When you probably know I played guitar for Lee Roth for a little while.
Yeah, that other guy, other guy.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, brother. So yeah. So we go. The three things he said. Okay, Des. After I'm not going to tell the whole story, but anyway, I expected about a 2,000 guitar player cattle call for that gig, and I said no, because he and his managers had managed DeVille before they ever managed anybody else, and the rest of the guys fired them, but had me make the phone call. So Pete Angelis was like, "What?" I said, listen, Pete, the band has decided that you guys aren't the right direction. He goes, is that what you're saying, Desi? I said, no, I'm saying that's what the band said, Pete. He goes, okay, great, I get it. Well, listen, if you and Scotty change your mind, SS change your mind, he says, you got the phone number. So I dropped in not long after, and he says, I walk in, he goes, Desi, how are you? Great. He goes, when's that second record coming out? I said, 10 days ago. He said, ouch, haven't heard about it. I said, thank you, that's my left one. Then he said, what can I do for you? I said, I want you to manage my career. He says, what career is that? I said, okay, that's the right one. Can you put your sharp boots back under the desk please, and let's talk. I said, you owed me. He goes, yeah, it's all good. What can I do? And I said, honestly, I'd like you to, he says, well, Dave needs a guitar player. And I said, he'd be lucky to have me. He says, okay, hotshot, I'll get you an audition. I said, no, I don't want to be in the middle of some cattle call. Either the first one or the last one, or I don't want to audition. Yep. I mean, you go see a band, what do you remember? The first song, the last song, and maybe the ballad in the middle, right? Yep. That's it. You don't remember the rest of the stuff, and people don't remember the other guys auditioning. And so, anyway, he goes, okay, you got first. How does that sound? I said, where and when? He said, Dave's house Tuesday. See you there. Wow. I show up, and I got all the equipment and all this. I don't want to go through all that. Anyway, Dave didn't come downstairs. Little Lord Fauntleroy is upstairs on closed-circuit TV to his basement watching the audition.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? So I set my mic up right in front of the camera. I said, hit it. We played all 5 songs. I sang lead on all of them, right in Dave's face. And then I walk away and go out. And he comes outside. He goes, okay, Des. He goes, you got the gig. I said, not so fast, not so fast. I said, he goes, okay, what's it going to cost me? I said, it's not about money, Dave. It's not? No, it's not about money. I got 3 conditions. Otherwise, I don't want the gig. He goes, oh, brother, not money. No, it's not money. Well, what are they? I said, well, I saw over in your garage over there that 50 Mercury that you did for Panama. I said, I want to ride in that one. That's one. God. He goes, okay, 1, done. Yeah. I said, okay. 2, I said, I got to know about the brown M&Ms. What's the story there? Because he hadn't written his book yet. And he goes, brown M&Ms. Okay, yeah. Okay, 2. Yeah. What's the third one? I said, if I'm going to be in this band, we're going to play Beautiful Girls because it's the only song you ever recorded, the only real song you ever recorded. He goes, ouch. What? I said, I'm not saying you didn't play stuff that was fun to listen to, but that's a real song, and I want it in the set. He goes, done. And he shakes my hand. He goes, now let me tell you about the brown M&Ms. And then we start walking on the grounds with his 2 Rottweilers, and he tells me the story about the brown M&Ms and fits me for the right climbing shoes because he was into the whole skyscraper thing at the time. What a maniac. Anyways, so Angelus, and I get that gig and doing it, and we go overseas. And when we were in the UK, more specifically London, we walk in the hotel, nice one, I think it was the Hilton. And as we walk in, Dave's always got his big smile on and all that. And there's a bunch of kids in the lobby. And I promise you, this is the truth. We walk in, they start screaming, Desi, it's Desi Rexx, I can't believe it. And they come running over with a marker and the album with the legs and all that stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, don't do this, guys. Don't do it. Dave's not going to like this at all. Please sit down, And I just kind of catch Dave's eye, and he gives me, it was a smile with the mouth, but not with the eyes.
Yep.
Not with the eyes. And so it was kind of like that over there. It turns out that we had quite a few fans overseas. And, I lasted about 10 dates on the tour. 6 months of rehearsals. And after about 10 dates, Dave came in, morning, you listen, Des, it's Pete and Pat love you, and I love you too, but, it's a matter of style. It's a matter of style. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, okay. Okay. Listen, all the best, Dave. And here's the thing. He's the greatest at what he does.
Yeah.
Dave is so good. I'm a little bit funnier. I'm a little bit better on stage, just a little, but he's really good, don't you think? Yeah. I mean, all stuff aside, that's why people are going with, it's either Diamond Dez or the Windy City Wild Man, and I got to leave Dave alone on that one. He's the Diamond Boy. So,
my God,
that's it, brother. That's the truth of things. Hey, listen, hi UK, what up? I wonder if that girl so in that same hotel. At that time, Dave's band's lineup was myself, Dave, of course, Brett Tuggle on keys. He'd been in the band all the way. You didn't see him, and he wasn't really acknowledged with a picture on that first Eat 'Em and Smile record. But, Greg Bissonette, right? Steve Vai, of course, Billy Sheehan.
Yeah.
And Greg Bissonette was still in the band. And Greg and Brett Tuggle are both enormous Beatle fans, and so the three of us had worked up Nowhere Man.
Oh, wow.
How the intro of Nowhere Man is strictly 3-part a cappella, right?
Wow, yes, yeah.
So we're in the elevator, and this cute little British girl, the doors open up, and she walks in, and we're kind of in a semicircle, and she's somewhat blocked, and the doors close right behind her and almost catch her skirt, and we've kind of got her trapped, and I snap my fingers, and we sing Nowhere Man right to her.
Wow.
And her eyes are just like saucers, and the elevator goes up, and the door opens to her floor, and she backs out, and almost, she's got heel going, almost tripped, and as she's backing out, she goes, thank you. Thank you very much. And the doors close. Thank you very much. So if you're out there, darling, it was fun singing to you. You were a cutie then. I'm sure you're still looking good there in the UK.
Desi, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future, man. My God, I love your stories.
Well, you know what? I love you, and I love that you're helping us out on this. We're nothing without radio and without the social media stuff. If you get a chance to put a little plug on any kind of social media for us, please do.
Absolutely.
If there's anything I can do for you, like another one, absolutely. Call Jody, set it up anytime you want. Anytime.
Well, if Joe Elliott from Def Leppard can be on this show 9 times, I'm thinking that Desi needs to be on this show 8 more times.
How about 9 more?
There you go. Let's do it.
777 times more.
I love
776 times. Anyway, Desi Rexx from Demal 777 and Arrow Collins saying bye-bye for now. We love you. Thanks for listening.
I love your attitude, buddy. Thank you so much for sharing your energy.
Anytime you want, buddy.
Bye, guy.